It's online. I gotta be shy now, you know, y'all hear this. This owl device is very powerful, and I feel like it keeps noticing me over here in the corner, because you gotta move, you gotta breathe, and then, you know. You can- Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for your patience. We are basically getting our panelists ready to get on the stage. Just so y'all know, it's pretty warm in here in Cypress Mandela. I've had some awesome Kingston 11 food coming in, but we're gonna get the panel started hopefully for you shortly. And thank you for your patience. If I was more prepared, I have some music for you, but I hope y'all got some music on in the background. Hope that this moment is entertaining. And again, yeah, we're really happy to have our partners here with us and, you know, just a little bit longer. Because I was. Yeah. And I'm like. Even like right now, it's still there. Oh, no, it's great. I mean, like, my man. I can try to place that. I don't know. After that, where's? No, people are beeping in, you know, so.
Sure, it's not there.
Yeah.
Hello, good evening. Hello.
Hey, Oscar. Hey, how you doing?
I am okay.
Well, I believe we might have my lovely co-host be joining you online soon enough. I'm trying to multitask on the phone. And that's the tech for the physical space. So we're about to be starting up soon. We're just having a little technical transition. Thank you. Panelists are almost.
I'll be here.
Hey, thanks for hopping on, Oscar. We also don't know if there's anyone on the call who needs interpretation.
Okay.
So you could make an announcement really quick, and if that's necessary, y'all, then we're all gonna hop on a different Zoom. We'll put that in the chat so that you can get that new link, because we'll have to start a new call so we can do interpretation. So Oscar,
Okay.
Make an announcement in the channel just in case there's someone here who's speaking Spanish.
So first I make the announcement that we will have in the chat a link to go to another meeting, correct?
Yes, but only if we need interpretation. We're not going to share the
Okay.
link unless we need to switch.
Okay, so yeah, let me know what you want me to say.
Thanks. Could you share that Spanish interpretation will be available if it's needed, and just ask them to speak up if they need that?
Okay. Hola, buenas tardes a todas y todos. Mi nombre es Oscar Arteta. Yo soy un intérprete para español. Y si es que alguien necesita interpretación al español, por favor, háganos saber, porque si es así, entonces vamos a entrar a otro enlace que podremos usar para la interpretación, si es que alguien la necesita. ¿Hay alguien en este momento que necesita interpretación al español? Por favor, háganos saber. Okay, just waiting.
Yeah, I would say, it's already gonna catch this.
Yeah, we can fix it, yeah.
Yeah, you know.
Because the point was the sound.
Yeah.
Coming from the speaker, so I think it would make more sense if y'all wanted to bring your chairs closer to there, and if people come, we'll open it back out, right? You know, but
Maybe we'll set up some extra chairs.
it's like a tight knit circle, we can bring a table up.
A fishbowl.
Thank you for all our people patiently waiting in line. We are bringing your panelists closer to you, trying to create a visual atmosphere. The shared screens, but if you see the video on how bring your panelists.
It's possible for us to just see ourselves with that, camera.
Yeah, let me.
Oh, Van.
We'll have that again, and we'll kick off this event very shortly. Thank you for your patience.
Vamos a empezar dentro de pocos momentos. Gracias por su paciencia. Si alguien necesita interpretación, por favor, háganos saber en el chat o hablando, haciéndonos saber. Gracias.
Oh, yeah.
No, that's nice.
That's what they're saying.
That's lovely.
Perfect. Yeah, that's great.
Great, I love that.
And I think, yeah, the more people speak, like that was very good. It will like.
Yeah, and it's 360, right?
360, it
Yeah.
catches all sound, even when I sit
Yeah.
down. So. Oh,
Yeah.
nice. Hello.
Hello. Hi.
So we were kind of making it more of a fishbowl style because the amount of participants in physical space. We think I have enough chairs up here. Yeah. Yeah.
Hi, what's up? Hello. Hi, Rona. Hi, Rachel. Hey, I'm Anjana.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. So we'll go ahead and kick this off. Thank you so much once again for joining us. I know we are all interested in housing. That is the topic of our decade, century. And so as you all, know, this is specifically about co-living housing options. And so we have some wonderful partners here with us that will share more about that. Like, what is this creative, more affordable option for housing? And a lot of times we are already informally doing it. So this is just a way and space for us to talk about intentionally entering into co-living housing arrangements. And so we'll take a moment to run through the agenda just so everyone knows like the flow of this. So we'll spend this time welcoming, and then when we jump into the panel, that'll be about an hour. We'll run that until about 6:40-ish, and then we will break and we'll have a meal for those who are here with us in person. And then, y'all still get a break if you're online, but at that point too, we'll do a little mixing and conclude. So firstly, we'll give an opportunity for everyone to introduce themselves. So Oh, yeah, go ahead and pass the mic.
I was just asking about
The
the,
camera will, whenever someone speaks, like,
but the
me,
sound is coming from over there, so that's, is it?
yeah, but it does pick up like immediately. So like earlier we were talking and like the moment you start speaking, it will focus.
Oh, yeah.
Just for our people online, people are experiencing the power of the owl.
I just want you to see my face too. So am I introducing?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Hi, I'm Rona Fernandez, she, they pronouns. I'm with the People of Color Sustainable Housing Network.
Thank you for having us.
Hello, my name is Rachel Matthews, and I am a program manager with HomeMatch Alameda County, she, her.
Hi, I'm Scott, community organizer with the East Bay Permanent Real Estate Cooperative, correct? Pronouns he, him, really happy to be here.
I'm Xavier with Original Black Print, helping to co-host this event, and I'll be your moderator for the panel.
My name is Molly McGee. I am a real estate agent, but I really want to help people live together.
Hi, I'm Anjana Vakil. I'm just a citizen, just an interested party trying to kind of see if there's ways I can help create more affordable housing and co-living communities potentially.
Hi, I'm Chris Chu. I work with East Bay Permanent Real Estate Cooperative.
Awesome. We got more folks pulling the room, but yeah, do we want to have Zoom introduce themselves real quickly? Just so we can know who's among us. We already got some additional resources, or that's awesome to know who we have here with us.
Yeah, I can go. Hey, everybody. I'm B. I'm landed calling in from East Oakland, part of the East Bay Permanent Real Estate Cooperative. And glad that y'all could be here. I just wanted to check, did y'all want the Zoom folks to see the room? Because it's still sharing the slides. Just to check. But I will pass.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Luke Barnesmore. I'm the Director of Strategy for the HomeMatch program, which is one of the programs that's presenting this evening. It's good to be here with you all.
Awesome. All right, thank you all. So we'll go ahead and jump into the panel so for the sake of time. So the first question we have for our lovely panelists is, can you just, open it up to sharing about, your organization, what you do, and, why you're here.
I'm holding the mic first, so I'll take it away. So yeah, I'm Scott, community organizer with EVPREC. We are a permanent real estate cooperative. We develop and maintain permanently affordable housing in the Bay Area. I'm also part of the displacement avoidance team, along with Chris and B. We work primarily in East Oakland, but we do our best to serve everyone with emergent housing needs in Oakland, and just working to keep folks rooted in the town. Sorry.
Okay, again, I am Rachel with HomeMatch. HomeMatch is a home sharing program that is part of Front Porch, which is a larger nonprofit. And what HomeMatch does is we match up participants who are either a provider or a seeker who either have a room available in their home that they may be interested in renting, or it could be in their apartment if they're a master tenant, with someone who might be seeking an affordable way to stay in the area. We do background checks, we do income verification, and a very comprehensive intake with them, visiting the home and trying to match them up based on their compatibility features. They also sign what's called a living together agreement, which includes everything like the temperature in the house and where do I park my car, and can I keep something in the kitchen? Can I use the kitchen? Who buys the toilet paper? Through a standard lease agreement. So that's the general overview of HomeMatch.
So the People of Color Sustainable Housing Network, our acronym is also POCHN. We're kind of a little hard to define. We're basically a very loosely mutual aid kind of support network of people of color. mostly in the Bay Area, but we also have folks who connect with us from all over the country and in the world. And we promote ecologically, spiritually, emotionally, politically, culturally regenerative spaces. So that could be anything from folks living together and renting, to folks buying land together and owning it cooperatively. We've helped to incubate and sort of support a lot of different projects, including the East Bay Permanent Real Estate Cooperative was founded by folks who met at Potion events pre-pandemic when we used to meet in person. So some of the things we offer are a few online spaces to connect, including a Facebook group of about 5,000 folks. And we also have monthly online gatherings and occasional in-person gatherings in this post-COVID era. And yeah, just sort of try to connect folks with different resources, and including like land trusts. And there's lots of resources in the Bay Area that folks don't know about. HomeMatch now, which I had not known about, I will definitely be posting in our online spaces, just as a way to encourage and find ways for people of color to survive this very hostile housing environment in a way that is aligned with our values. So.
Awesome. Thank you. And so many of you kind of like touched on it, went a little bit deeper, but can you share more about like what are your community offerings? And then also too, how do people go about utilizing the services?
So yeah, so I mentioned the Facebook group. So there's a Facebook group called the People of Color Sustainable Housing Network. You have to be a person of color to join. It's for BIPOC only. All of our spaces are BIPOC only. So however, in terms of how folks self-identify. And we also have a meetup group, which is under the same name. And we have an online monthly event that I mentioned, the Community Brew, in the slides that are hopefully going around. There's a QR code. Yeah. That has a link to registering for that event. The next one's coming up next Thursday. So it's every third Thursday of the month. And like I said, that's really folks come from all over the country and the world to talk about their dreams for cooperative living. So that can be anything from, you know, retired people wanting to move to Mexico to buy, build a house because that's where they can afford to retire, to folks renting here in the Bay Area, to folks buying land in a rural area. It really varies, and we're just there to kind of provide a space for folks to dream and to hopefully connect them to resources where they can manifest their dreams. And I'll say, I guess another thing that we're trying to do is possibly start a kind of a more intensive kind of network education program, and where we've been utilizing the resources of Community Vision, which is a pretty large nonprofit kind of real estate and development organization, and they provided some educational resources for folks to learn more about the different ways you can live cooperatively. So that's another thing we're doing, probably online and some in-person events.
Hi, this is Rachel again with HomeMatch. So we do a lot of outreach in various neighborhoods, and certainly a lot with seniors. The majority of the people that we seem to serve at this point have been mostly seniors, people who are, at the risk of losing their home because everyone has moved out and they're there by themselves, and now the expenses are just too extreme, as well as people, a lot of young people trying to move into the area who, of course, have no way of getting into even a one-bedroom apartment. So it tends to be a community that becomes its own community just by default. It's like their common goals and desires for a living situation are what bring them together, and then it ends up working out as a fabulous option. We work with every different organization out there, and we are available either on the phone, in person, online, on our website. We can visit your home. There's multiple ways that we can reach out and connect with people and get the process rolling.
Yeah, thanks. Community resources that we offer. The primary community resource that we offer for sure is, developing and supporting the development of and maintaining permanently affordable cooperative housing, primarily geared towards BIPOC folks from here, working class folks. That is for sure the primary resource and primary objective. In addition to this, one of the other community resources we offer is the formation and organizing of owner groups, which is a way to support really any resident-led action or project, or to address a critical need in the community. This is also probably the best way to organize to collectively acquire a building. But it can, again, it can be used for, utilized for a whole lot of needs in the community. As far as the displacement avoidance program, which is a small branch of ED Prep, the resources we offer to assist folks in staying housed, especially in DP Stokeland, it's a gamut, right? Eviction defense, referrals for legal aid, letter writing, support with habitability, support with, defensive harassment, support applying for affordable housing, being that person's whether formally or informally case worker, so that if you do get lucky and get hit back with an application that you submitted for affordable housing, you have someone in your corner who knows how the system works to help you get it. And I guess I could also go into how you access these resources, but maybe I'll pause there. Yeah.
Forgot to add, so I said that we have a Facebook group, but that actually is mostly used for people to post and look for housing. So it just sort of happened organically. It was started 10 years ago. And if you go on there, you'll see that, there are folks looking for housing, folks posting housing. And most of those folks tend to be cutie POC, for transgender people of color, tend to be wanting to live cooperatively, in a more communal way. So sharing tasks, sharing responsibilities, sharing space. Not all, but that tends to be what people come to our Facebook looking for. So that's probably how most people know about us. We used to call ourselves kind of the Craigslist for, communal BIPOC people. It's still kind of like that. So yeah, so that's what our Facebook group does. And we also have an email list that folks can join for more kind of interaction and information, often from East Bay practice. So. I think it's towards the end, I think. Or no, it's actually, I think it's second. The Facebook group's on the third slide, I think. And literally, if you Google people of color sustainable housing or people of color housing, you'll find us. We're at the top spot.
I hope you all are collecting all the resources. I did want to take a moment to also transition to Zoom because we have a representative from Golden Gate that has some additional resources that we'd like to uplift.
Hello.
Hey.
Hi. Should I speak?
Yes, please do.
Yeah, my name is Sabere Kashi and I live at Golden Gate Co-housing, which is a multi-generational and multicultural co-housing in Northwest Auckland. And we have we have 17 units. It's 2 buildings. One is an older building, and the other one is a newer building that was completely remodeled. And we are a community called Shared Living Resource Center as a nonprofit, and we are trying to buy the 2 buildings from the nonprofit developer that has created it. It's called Parker Street Foundation. So we have been in the process of purchasing and for like 4 years or so, and it's still, we hope to do it soon. And we are having families. We are from the community is made of immigrants, also like people of color. There are also white people, there are queer people. We have people from, I'm myself from Iran. We have people from Japan, Colombia, Mexico. And also we have families, and we also have single people. So some of the units are private units, like 1 bedroom or a studio. And then we have also at least one shared unit is the 4-bedroom. And also we have some semi-shared rooms that are using a shared kitchen and community room. Currently we have 3 openings. I think the recruitment process is over, but we're still looking for a family for our private unit. There is 1 private unit available and 2 rooms. One is in the shared 4-bedroom and the other one is a semi-shared room. And we also have one that is a family unit. It's a 1-bedroom. So yeah, we are recruiting because I am not in the recruitment committee, but I think there is more information that People of Color Sustainable Housing Network has. We have sent them all the information. There is also the application to apply, which I am going to share here. So even there is an email that you could call and ask for more information, or if you want a visit. So I think that information can be shared by People of Color Sustainable Housing Network. And I think there must be already a Facebook message or emails that have gone out. So the only thing I want to share is that even though the application cycle is closed, I cannot really speak really for it because I'm not in the position to make decisions about that, but I know that we still have to recruit. So probably we could, I don't know how we can fit it in, but I just let you know that you could probably apply.
Thank you so much for sharing all that information. And we do have the links that you can probably see in the presentation slide. So please do, write down these links, go to them. And then we'll also be following up with a host of these resources and an email as well too. So more will be coming to you. So I did want to circle back to through some of the questions, we were able to talk about what resource offerings you have. But did anyone have anything to add in terms of how one might go about accessing these resources?
Take it away.
Thank you. Hello? Okay, great. Yeah, thank you, Xavion. Yeah, I just wanted to dive in a little bit of how to access UBPREC's various resources. So the primary way to access our resources would be to attend a member orientation. We do them in person at our resource center in Deep East Oakland. Let's talk about in a moment. We also do them online. Then the process would be to become a community owner, or for some folks, an investor owner could be more appropriate. And then you would, once you become a community owner, which is really easy to do, you would either join an existing owner group that is working towards community need that you're interested in, or collectively working together to acquire a building that you're interested in joining, or you would organize with your community and with the support of UBPREC to form a new owner group to get another building or to address an emergent need. That's, basically the main way to go through and make sure that any community sort of action or project has the full support of our organization. What else? As far as accessing resources for displacement avoidance, if you're someone with more emerging housing needs, especially in East Oakland and Deep East Oakland, you can just come to our resource center. It's on 94th International. It's open from Monday to Thursday, 10 to 2. It's a place you can just walk in and you can be seen by, if one of us on site, you can be seen by housing navigator, organizer instantly. Or if there's someone from workforce or from open parks or from the city, then you can give them their info. A few more things. Another way you can, access our resources is to apply to become a resident leader at one of our buildings. And actually, we are in the process of trying to get to close on a property on 13th Avenue, I think. This like just happened, and it's absolutely gorgeous. I'm like in love with the building already, and I can see like, what'd you say? I don't know. Maybe we can pull it up on Facebook. 17th Street. Yeah, so it's like a little south of Highlands, like Clinton area, east of the lake. It's like a 16-unit property that was previously also operated by a co-op. So I think the owner's trying to give it to another co-op or sell it to another co-op. So again, this is another way that you can access our resources. And please do, apply for if you're interested in helping us organize around this space. Before I give the mic back again, just want to talk about the Resource Center itself as a resource to the community. One that has resources that we're offering both us and other partners, but also is a space for community and ownership for people in East Oakland to own this space and to steward this space. That's like one of the integral parts of it. And we actually have Ben Smith here, who's one of our resident leaders. He's a key holder for us. He's an events coordinator. We met through doing housing support. And it's just great to have that level of engagement and stewardship from folks who live in the area. So yeah, if you'd like to volunteer there or to help, or if you know any resident leaders in the community that want to go to an incubator of this kind of leadership, send them our way. Thanks.
Okay, Rachel again. So I just wanted to add that, you can come to our offices and see us. You need to call first, but we have a general number, and we'll share all this later, but general number, you can email us. We also are very available to do presentations or meet with people in groups, community groups. We attend a lot of NSC meetings and talk to neighbors that way about what we're doing. And, some of the most important features, I think, of the home sharing, especially for the home provider, is it is a source of income, number one. And then also, since like I mentioned, a lot of the home providers are older women who are alone in their home. They have, they feel a little safer. They have somebody there, and they have a companionship aspect. And also the occasional task exchange is also a popular option. And then someone will lower their rent, not a lot, but somewhat. And it's not caretaking. That's not what we ever offer. But, taking out the trash and maybe helping someone go to the market once a week, or sharing some meals with them, things like that. So it's really about companionship and then additional monetary support, which can be really helpful. And it is free for both participants, and we stay involved in the relationship during the entire match, let's just say. So however many years you are together, we check in every couple months to make sure everybody's okay. And we have mediation services that first begin with us, but then it kind of can escalate should that be needed. So we try to make sure that everybody is happy with how the match is playing out. And if not, that we find solutions to that, find new housing for someone, find a new roommate for the person, whatever it takes. And again, we support both parties equally.
Yes, I already mentioned the Facebook group. That's where you go to look for or post about housing. So if you have a room available, or if you, subletting, there's lots of different arrangements people offer. And then I would say, if you're interested in more of the, learning more in depth about different ways to go about living cooperatively, I would suggest going to the community group. I think my last slide has a QR code if people want to use that to register. The next one is next Thursday, and they're every month on the third Thursday, a couple hours in the evening, Pacific Coast time. And yeah, it's just a really great space. So we get a lot of repeat attendees who just want to be around other people who also want to live cooperatively, because it's still kind of like a weird idea for some people, you know, like, they're like, what, you could do that and not be, you know, not live alone or live in this very individualistic way. So I think a lot of what we end up doing is kind of educating people that there are these resources, and there are people, actually lots of people who do want to live differently and live in a way that is kind of more the way we used to live, you know, before this hyper individualistic US society, which is very unnatural, you know. So yeah, so those are the two main ways. And we also have an email list, as I mentioned, but I think the online space and the Facebook group are the best ways to kind of connect. And we're hoping our network sort of got a little dormant during the pandemic because we used to meet a lot in person, and obviously we couldn't do that anymore. So we're kind of re-engaging. So it's a good time to come and just you know, just connect with folks and meet people who think like you.
Thank you. And I especially appreciate you uplifting the fact that the way we navigate housing in the US is not natural, right? So as I don't know anyone who hasn't at some point in time like struggled to find housing, or like, you know, whether it's just the logistics, the affordability, lack thereof, you know, so it's just like you're not alone, right? And I think that co-living, it sounds new, but it is like, it's very ancient, right? And so just lifting that up, that we're just like re-engaging folks with like new language, but to live in a communal fashion. I mean, many of us are doing that like right now, whether you're living intergenerationally with friends or so on. And so I just want to uplift how natural co-living actually is. And so this is us intentionally like re-engaging with what is our way of being in many ways. So thank you for highlighting that. So I do want to also circle, I know you all kind of shared how people can go about, you know, accessing resources, but just in general, what are some tips and tricks that you would offer to someone who is seeking housing given the climate?
I would say that's a very trick question, but it's being open. Being open and available, and you know, like you say, most people think, oh, I want to be by myself and I really like it. However, I'm lonely and there isn't anybody to have tea with in the afternoon. And does anybody want to play cards with me? So it's what are all the things that you might want to engage in? What are the things that you miss doing? What are the things that you would like to know if someone in the house was interested in doing? I don't like to cook, but I love it if somebody else was cooking. Okay, you know, so it's being as open to as many possibilities and opportunities and types of people that you might have thought, well, I don't know about that, but do you know? No, you don't. So, hey, check it out. So it's not having too many hard and fast rules. And I think that, again, who we serve, a lot of older adults, that kind of is their initial thought, is these are all the things I don't want. And then as we talk to them and really go over it and visit them at their home and see, well, look at that beautiful backyard, you know, are you able to garden out there? No, I'm not able to garden. Well, wouldn't it be nice if somebody was out there gardening? Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, that'd be great. You know, so it's a lot of it is engaging with the individual, of course, where they are, and then trying to draw them out of where they are and where they think they want to stay, and figure out what's the bigger world for them, what's the bigger paradigm that they might actually really enjoy and think is fantastic if they let themselves. So what would you allow back into your life? I think that's a big part of it.
Well, thank you. That was great. Definitely explore different possibilities. More possibilities really comes up for me. Yeah, this is a great question. If you are someone who is in search of, in need of affordable housing, there's like a few phrases that come to mind, like getting plugged in, casting a wide net, and like exploring the possibilities, right? So getting plugged in means like if you are someone you love and your community is looking for affordable housing, you should sign up and join Potion. You should apply for HomeMatch. You should follow EVPrec on Instagram, sign up for our newsletters, our emails, come to our orientation. You know, this is what it means, right, to get plugged in, and then also to see who are we building with, right? You've met 2 orgs here that we're building with. There's others as well, and you know, get plugged into those folks. You know, cast a wide net for me is just like search everywhere, apply, and yeah, and it's where like apply to everything. Because it doesn't make sense. And I think this is something that we at UPrec are really just like not content with having be, but there is a scarcity, which doesn't make sense, right? But there is a scarcity of affordable housing opportunities. So really just, just looking around and applying for everything. Come see us at the Resource Center to get help with applying if you want. And yeah, and exploring possibilities, just like literally don't just look and search, but really just go apply if it doesn't feel like a good fit. Because you just never know. And that's something I think we embrace a lot at UPrec too, is exploring these kind of possibilities of different ways of living and being. Take it away, Ben.
Yeah, I got a question because, you know, I'm from Detroit, but I live in Oakland. I've been here for a while, you know, and I'm 50-something years old. And until I met you, because we didn't really meet on houses at all. We met on me trying to fix my because I have foreclosure issues, right? And so, you know, I spent a lot of time talking to Chris, trying to find out how this option works, but how as a whole are you guys passing that out to other people? Other than, you know, like today, this room should be full. Most people don't know what you guys do. They don't have an idea what this is at all, or if this is possible, you know, because I was even looking at a house that you guys was posting that was selling for like 300,000. And I was like, what was it? And then when they explained to me, oh, they're leasing out the land underneath, so they're gonna control it for 99 years, but you owning the property, more co-op, get these words out so people can really know what's going on, as opposed to all just fighting this war by ourselves, because that's really what it is. You buy a house and you at war. I mean, literally, you at war for years. You lose your job and you behind, and you know, it's like they're selling you a house just so they can take it back in the long run, give it to somebody else for cheaper.
Take it away.
That's a great question, Ben. That's something that that is a riddle I think I personally am trying to solve every day. I think that's why we work together, right? That's why we're drawn to one another, because we're like, this needs to get out, right? And I don't know the answer to that. I really don't, but I know at least if I'm supporting you, supporting folks in our community, and getting it out best we can, just trying to, again, have these opportunities, right? Just again and again. You know, and again, being open to innovate, to explore possibilities. So it's a promise for me to try harder and always try. Oh my gosh, I do not have the answer.
I think a lot of it too, though, is hearing from you. I mean, you're the best advertisement for any organization who has someone like you involved in it, is to tell your friends. And if you go to church, tell your church, or you're in a men's group, tell your men's group, hey, listen to these guys. Hey man, they have a great message. This is something that I'm involved in and it works and it saved my life, or whatever it is that happened. It's so much more powerful than someone who's getting paid by an organization. No matter how into it we are and how much we believe in it, people still don't really feel it the same as if they do from what they hear from the actual person who has really directly benefited from it. So that's super powerful, because you are the man. That's where you come from.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what's your name again?
I'm Ben.
Ben. Thank you, Ben. Yeah, I feel like I agree with you. Like, why isn't this room full? Why is even the Zoom, you know? And, you know, it's interesting because I'm also a writer in my other life and also a fundraiser. And so I deal a lot in the realm of ideas and dreaming and imagining. And I think it's really hard. I think this society and this culture has really sold us on this idea that there's one way to succeed. And that's kind of to exploit other people. I mean, really, like to screw over other people to be able to survive, which is so whack, right? It's so messed up. But even people that I know very well, friends, I've explained the land trust model to them. For example, I have a friend who her father owned some land way out in the mountains and didn't want to hold on to it anymore and wanted her to buy it, but she didn't have the means. And so I was trying to tell her about, you know, community land trust or some way to do it collectively. And it was really hard for her to wrap her brain around it. She's a good person. We share very similar values,
But that idea of ownership of land as an individual person is so powerful in the American dream. So I think we just need to like also be realistic that this process of educating people is gonna take a while, you know, like Potion's only been around for about 9 years. East Bay Prac is even newer. But these ideas are old, you know, as Xavier was saying, like these ideas are not new. It's just that we have to kind of reawaken that in people. And yeah, so it's just gonna take a while, and I have faith that it's happening already. There's a lot more people now that know about land trusts and models like East Bay Prac than 5 years ago. I mean, I talk to people and they're like, oh yeah, East Bay Prac, go land trusts. And 5 years ago, they're like, what? I'm still kind of learning too. Like, I didn't really realize that East Bay Prac had all those resources, and I'm in this world, right? So yeah, I think it's just gonna take time. We have to be patient and know that we're bumping up against a culture that is kind of not wanting us to succeed, you know? So, you know, just being realistic about that, I think helps us be patient, but also know that, you know, it might take many conversations with somebody before they'll kind of go, maybe I should check it out, you know, maybe, you know? So, and it's hard for me too. I'm very impatient. I'm like, come on, let's just do it. I see people living in their cars and I'm just like, man, this is suffering, you know, like, I don't want the suffering to continue, but it's a psychological thing, you know, that we have to really overcome. So it'll take time, but I think it's happening.
Yeah, I definitely would second that. I think, and I wouldn't even say it's just for co-living. I think most things that contribute positively to people's holistic health and wellness, they could be free, right? And it's like, if a person doesn't really know or is familiar, and we're generations oftentimes separated from understanding and knowing that benefit intimately, right? People won't show, right? And so it really, I think, you know, to what all of you all said, it does rest with us and within our network, within our families, our friends, like, because there's the element of trust there, right? And I think that helps to propel someone to even listen, right? To even like, oh, that's a nice flyer, you know, be like, do I want to go to, like, you know what I mean? Like, to really, what is co-living, like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, it does take many conversations, and I would say it even takes generations oftentimes for people to root it, especially for something that's so important as housing, right? So I think, yeah, I feel like we are the building blocks, right? And we're here and we're sharing our information, our knowledge, and having this exchange. And like, you know, there's like professionals and folks interested and so on here, and it's like us taking that back. I really do believe, like, if you were really talking to your homies and be like, hey, like, you know, this co-living thing, like, I see they got a 16 bedroom, like, you know what I mean? I think people, it comes off very different, right? So, but I'm so happy that you asked that, because it directly connects to our question around, like, what are the benefits of co-living, right? And then also too, how do you know, how is your offering unique when we talk about co-living, since there are so many different like ways to approach it?
Can I ask a question, kind of a follow-up? I don't know if I need a mic for Zoom. Yeah, okay. Hi, yeah, I'm gonna hear, just curious, and sort of a follow along to this question of like what you said, I really resonated of everybody fighting the battle on their own. You know what I mean? And feeling like you're the only one who wants to explore a way to do it differently or something like that. So just curious, like, I know we've heard about things like the Facebook groups, and I mean, we're here at an in-person event, but like, do you see mostly like groups coming of like a bunch of friends who've already kind of talked about it and want to do a big project? Or do you see like, how do you deal with kind of individuals who are sort of like out there feeling on their own, maybe are interested in other solutions, but don't necessarily have a group of kind of people who are willing to go a little bit outside of the color outside of the lines, as it were?
So at Potion anyway, we actually get mostly individuals, maybe a couple that is wanting to do this, and they have an idea, they have a vision, they may be friends or maybe interested. This is actually me personally, because my husband and I bought our house in Oakland in the Diamond District 7 years ago, and we really want to open it up to maybe a couple other. I'm going to talk to Scott. I'm like, we got to figure out some other way to do this. We opened the idea up to a couple good friends. And they're not ready. They're not ready to do it now, which is fine. I understand. Like, buying a house is major commitment and major headache but also, I really believe in land stewardship and really taking care, like being rooted in the community. So I would say a push, and a lot of times it's an individual or a couple. And they're looking for people. So they come to our space and say, I have, this a person in our, that's been coming to our brews who wants to do a co-living space in Pacifica. And she wants to rent, she doesn't want to buy. And she's just looking for folks. So she goes to all these different meetings and she just tells people, and I don't know if she's found anybody yet, but hopefully she will. But she also knows it's going to take a while because she wants a very specific, kind of person. And I'm sure some of the things that you all have come up with as far as the list will be helpful to her. And then there was one group that we actually, we sort of profiled them in one of our gatherings as a case study. It was a family, husband and wife, one of their parents, their brother and their child. And they were trying to build a slightly bigger group, about 10 people. And then the pandemic hit. And they kept trying to meet people and putting out this vision. They're called Pear Tree Village. And finally, they had this opportunity, they found this land, and real estate in the Bay Area turns over really fast, right? So as you know, and they were like, if we don't grab this now, like it met all of their needs for just that smaller group, we're gonna lose it. And so they sold their house, they used that to buy this other property. And so they kept it small. So I think that there are people looking, but it is really hard because it's a big commitment. It's like even in some ways like a marriage or more than a marriage. And so, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, so that hopefully that answers your question, but I think it's tough because people are scared, kind of scared of the idea. Yeah.
I can tell you from the room sharing, most of the people who come to it have heard about it from somebody else. Oh, I heard about that, or my friend did it and she said it worked out and they have a really nice roommate. So that's always the best way to hear about it. Otherwise, there's a lot of trepidation and a lot of worry and a fear of, I'm going to get somebody in my house and how am I going to get rid of them? And vice versa. I'm going to move into somebody's house and I'm not going to like that person. Most of the people do, month to month rentals. So you can change your mind and move on, find another situation. There's not a lot of home providers at this stage, I would say, who are offering a large space. There are a couple of them who have multiple rooms available. So more than one person could definitely move in. But I wouldn't say that it's at this point is the best option for, let's say, a whole family moving into someone's house, unless you have someone who's really missing that whole family dynamic. It's not always the best thing for that. I think it could become that at some point, but not at this stage.
Yeah, it was a great question, great follow-up question. I love what we're building on. Yeah, for EB Prec, I mean, this is sort of your question about the difference of needs, right, between an already organized group of folks, right, or even versus an individual who's interested is vastly different. We take in both, and this is also why the owner group model exists, because it creates these networks and nets for everyone, right? Whether you're a group coming in, just kind of shifting over from being an informal collective to being a formal owner group, or if you're a sole individual who wants to become a community owner, all of a sudden these same questions, right, can be fielded in our community owner circle meetings, right, where you'll meet more staff who will help with these needs, and you'll be meeting other owner groups and other members of different owner groups to build with and brainstorm with and organize with. So that to me is something that really stands out with EB Prec, because it is really hard to get these things started, and not to get it started, but to see it all the way through. And a couple other things that come up is like trust building, right? The need to build trust and demystification. I think these two things are just like huge. Just because for worse, right? We're acclimated to this like false naturalization. This is how the money works in housing, right? Just housing is anything right now, but this is how it works in housing. And then we come in and say, no, we can move money differently. It's like, what? But differently. And you gotta do that a lot of times, So it's like, yeah, creating those networks to to allow people with different needs to come in, and then building trust and demystifying the process. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, go right ahead. Another resource here.
Yeah. I'm a co-housing enthusiast, and yeah, we noticed, my colleague and I noticed that there would be either people like energy around a specific property or a specific group, and there was not a real like catch-all basket for people who are trying to find their people. So we've started having in-person and online meetups at different existing co-housing places in the Bay Area to see the different ways that it can manifest. So, you know, there's lots of ways to live with other people. And so we have this kind of basket where we want to learn about what it takes to live with people and make successful communities. And then also like, how does it look and all the ways to go about it, and sort of this, I don't know, dating element of like finding your people. And I'm totally happy to share that. And we have a spreadsheet and a Slack channel to try to like get people connected to find their matches.
What is the meetup called?
Bay Area co-housing.
Bay Area Co-housing?
Yeah, there's the meetup group. And we have some other like very basic things for it.
For sure. Would you mind sharing too with us? So great. So thank you for sharing that resource. We'll be sure to also include that in the follow-up information. So see, we got so much co-housing all around us. Yeah. It's really interesting to hear you all speak too, because I work in land with original Black parents. So a lot of it's like holistic health at the intersection of land. And people, oftentimes I see more of the desire for community living, right? Through the lens of like land. So many people, I find a lot more people are like interested in coming in and living, and like, because there's like the gardening aspect, there's the housing aspect and so on, but it's a bigger endeavor since the building is not yet built, right? But so it's interesting to hear how people are getting connected to you all's resources as well in that regard. I do want to revisit the last question, and then we'll do our break. Which is, you know, what are the benefits of, you know, we've spoken a little bit about it here and throughout, but like, you know, what would you all say are the benefits of co-living? And then what is unique about your offering?
Great. I'll try to keep my answer the first part short. But as far as benefits of co-living, I mean, there's just the brass tacks of more affordability. Just like, whether that's for you or someone else in your community that you care about, right? It's just about pooling resources. So pooling the housing resources, that creates more affordable housing for everyone relatively. That's beautiful. And from there, I mean, if you're already co-living, you can start to collectivize other aspects of health and humanity, right? Like, you know, you can start to collectivize food, distribute food in the same way amongst people you're co-living with. Like you said with HomeMatch, right? You collectivize labor, right? Like reproductive labor of the home. And that really comes into, what I think is important about that too, is like then the cultural shift, the mind shift that can come with co-living. I love that's what you brought up about meeting in the sites that people are co-living in, just because it really like it grounds it, you know, and really supports that mind shift. So I really love that. I'm gonna sit with that. As far as things we do uniquely, there's some cool unique aspects of a permanent real estate cooperative. I mean, one is that there is no landlord. You know, you co-own, you're an owner and a co-owner of the place. And that doesn't just end with like what it says on paper. You also have agency, right? You have collective agency, you have your own personal agency in contributing. So what happens? Which even differs from other really great affordable models like community unit trusts, for example, which are, you know, run by a board. What else in a PREC, equity, right? Limited equity coming back to residents through resident shares, or to their resident shares at the end of every year. So like surplus that would normally go to a landlord, that instead can go back to the collective, can go back to individual resident owners. And there's probably some other things, but those are some pretty good.
I think one of the main things, I was at a meeting earlier this week, actually, Ben was there, with Treva Reed, the council person, and there were about 35 women in that room. and interestingly, all women, as I noted before, and they were all older. It was at the senior center, except Ben. And everyone. And one of the questions was, how many people own your home? And everyone but one person owned their own home. And one of the biggest questions that they had been asking long before I got up and was talking was, we need more income. We're all on Social Security and it does not cover my bills, and my bills keep going up. And what am I going to do? And I said, oh, what you're going to do is you're going to rent your extra room, and then you're going to have that income because the income goes directly to you. So that's something unique and different in terms of co-housing, because the person, someone owns the home or someone is the leaseholder, and that person can actually receive that rent, and it makes a huge difference in their daily living capability. And then the other thing, you know, the very unique part of it, actually now I forget, there was something really unique and fabulous. I think I'm gonna have to remember it in a minute and get back to that.
I did want to point out that Luke also from HomeMatch has his hand up as well. So
Maybe he
In the
knows.
chat that maybe after the panelists, but if you
Okay.
wanted to give it to Luke right now.
Yeah.
They were like, let the room know. I'm like, yeah.
yeah, that'd be great, just since HomeMatch is talking about
Yeah,
that
yeah.
HomeMatch.
Luke, I hope you heard that.
Hi, everybody. How's it going? So typically, when we're talking about the benefits of home sharing in our program, we would look to the economic benefits, the social benefits, and then the benefit of really being able to live out your values. To the economic benefits, we're typically working with older adults that are living on a low fixed income. They're either master tenants or homeowners. They get to avoid displacement, remain in their home, not need to move into a retirement center. And also, you know, we work with a lot of folks who are homeowners, but maybe house rich, cash poor, or they've already taken out a second loan on their house. There's not a lot of equity left. And if they sell, then they're going to be in the position of being that person that makes maybe $1,000 a month in Social Security and is trying to find a rental in a market that is very unwelcoming to somebody who's in that position. So for the home provider, we're stabilizing housing. We're preventing those individuals from being at risk of falling into homelessness if they lose the house. And then, of course, for the home seeker, you have somebody coming in who might get a room for anywhere from $800 to $1,200 a month, which is a lot for a bedroom, but is pretty affordable as the Bay Area goes these days. The social benefit, we have a lot of older adults that are in the program who struggling to remain in the house. Maybe they've recently had a fall and their adult children are encouraging them to move into a retirement center or to come live with them. But that individual wants to stay in their community. They want to stay in the landscape that they've known through their lives. They want to stay with the people that they've known through their lives. And I would say the research shows that that is really important for maintaining health, especially as we age. I think social isolation is associated with a 50% increased risk of dementia. And so if we're talking about somebody being displaced from their community, we're not just talking about, is that right or wrong in a social cultural sense of we ought to give people the agency to be able to remain in their community. We're talking about very concrete, measurable health impacts that this is going to have on somebody who's told, well, you need to move out to the Central Valley, or you need to move to another state where you have family. You lose the landscape, you lose the people, you lose all of those connections that are so essential for keeping the mind healthy and well, and you're socially isolated. So very bad health outcomes associated with displacement, particularly for seniors who are already at risk for dementia and other health impacts like that. And then I think finally, this notion of being able to live out your values. The folks at our foundation often say we want to give people the opportunity to be able to actually give to things that they care about. And I think there are a lot of people in our society who are very comfortable giving through their pocketbook. They want to make a donation, big or small. Maybe they even want to go out into the community and help to do something. But the act of giving through changing the way that you live your life, through having somebody come into the home, through being that welcoming person that not only benefits from the relationship, but also is doing it because you have a sense of it's an important thing to do for the community. I want to actually be involved in addressing the affordable housing crisis. That's often where we really hit our sweet spot. If someone needs companionship and we're helping them to facilitate a social connection, but they also really have an altruistic desire to be a part of the solution, that's where we get our rooms that are $400, $500, $600 a month, where it's covering the costs for utilities and stuff, somebody being there. But it's not a profit motivated kind of a relationship. And that kind of reciprocity is beautiful. Unfortunately, we live in a society where not everybody has the opportunity to do that. But along this spectrum, I think there are really a lot of wonderful benefits that can come from co-living.
And I remembered the unique thing, we're going on a date with you. Right? We're walking you through the dating process. So we're there with you and we're holding your hand. And when you guys meet the first or second time, we're there on the date with you. So that's something, going back to the old days.
So I think everyone has done a great job of outlining the benefits of co-housing, and I think probably everyone who's here knows those benefits, because otherwise, you wouldn't be interested in it. I guess I'll say, sort of to bring this to a little more meta perspective. I think I want to acknowledge it's also a lot of work. It's a lot of work to live in community with people. It's a lot of work to be in relationship with people. And it's a lot of work to do it all by yourself, to live in a home by yourself and to rent by yourself. It's different kind of work. And I think personally, I don't think I'm being too over the top. I feel like if we all lived more communally, we would change the world. I mean, I think it makes you more empathetic. I've lived communally in the past, and I know that it helps me be the person on my block who's always trying to get people to do stuff together. You know what I mean? And my husband's always like, you're always trying to make people talk to each other. I'm like, yeah, because, so I have a friend and I am also very active in climate justice work. Y'all, this planet is changing. The weather's changing. We can't rely on very much to be the same. And I have a friend who's very deeply entrenched in statewide policy around climate. And I asked her once, she meets with the governor and, legislators. And I said, so what do you think? Are we California is supposed to be pretty good, around climate. I was like, what do you think? What do you think is going to be the solution to this? This is when the wildfire smoke was really bad. And she said, get to know your neighbors, because this is who we're going to have to rely on. So from a survival point of view, from a adaptation point of view, I just feel like we kind of can't afford to be in our little, cubes, squares, whatever, little phones all the time. We need to connect. The pandemic hasn't taught us anything. Hopefully it taught us that. So in terms of Potion, what's unique about us is I think because we're this very tiny organization we can be very flexible, and we kind of just are whatever people want to make of us, you can come and just do that. I mean, we don't have a ton of resources, but I think we have a lot of creativity and imagination and passion. And I think we have a lot of connections, we've just been able to connect a lot of people and these are people who are very motivated to connect with each other. So, it's funny when Sabare was on here and she's like, oh, Potion has all the information. I'm like, yeah, we do actually, because, we're connected to almost all the co-housing or land trust groups in the Bay Area in some way. And so it all sort of becomes this crossroads. So it's a good place, I think, to start your co-housing journey as a person of color. And then all these other spaces are places to get more specific kind of services, but we're kind of a clearinghouse to sort of find out what's out there.
Thank you for that. Something, a thread that I heard all throughout, right, is the intention, right? The fact that you're dating. So it's the alternative to going on your own to try and find, oh, I see this room for rent, which a lot of it is money driven, or what's the size of the room, all these things that aren't really based on the people, right? Co-living really does provide that identity inclusion, the values inclusion, who are you, what are your interests and how might that mesh well together or create more attention. So appreciate you all for lifting up all of the resources. And I do want to see if on Zoom, if there were any folks that you all had an opportunity to ask questions in the room, but any folks on Zoom, whether there was a question or two that we could take before we parted for our dinner and break, right, its conclusion.
I didn't have a question, but I just wanted to throw into the conversation some other resources that we've been looking at in our research and are in the packets that we made. So We have some awesome groups here that do our own versions of co-living. And there are now like more web-based co-living management and offerings. So they're in that packet. They're called coliving.com and common.com. And a lot of those places come with utilities included and shared supplies. A lot of times they're furnished, and it's really kind of designed for younger folks who are moving into the city and want to be in this collective space, but have some of their own private space. So I did share in the chat, and I can share again that link so that you can look at some of the offerings they have. And it was mentioned a couple of times, and I just want to, include in the suggestions for where we want to look for and what we want to consider. We couldn't get any of them in the room today, but we have a lot of connects with the community land trust. So like Bay Area Community Land Trust, Northern California Land Trust, the Oakland Community Land Trust. They are always acquiring properties and having some availability. So you can check those out too. And I will check.
Thank you. And so I think you mentioned that you might have had a question. We also, it's, at this time too, you can pause to go grab food and everything. But I'll also hand you the mic to you.
Yeah, I just wanted, because usually when you bring people into the space with you, the issue is how to keep them in there or how to, have some harmony, and a lot of us are being trained with the idea now, well, I need to be separate. The only people is I've seen people that go as far as their parents and they're all on their kids, in the house. So I'm like, how is the basis of this? Like, if you go into an apartment, they pretty much set all the rules and regulations out for you. They say this and this, you break the rules, they put you out. But in the co-op, it's like, you guys are trying to come together and make the rules? Is that what that is?
Yep.
So each house has its own set of rules, or is it what you guys have come about? I'm trying to figure out how that,
Well, I think every house is different. There's different, this is what's kind of cool, but also confusing, right? Because there's co-housing communities, which can be very organized, and they have house rules and, different rules. And there's things like, we have dinner together, we have communal dinner together once a week. There's lots of, both like rules about what you can and can't do, and then expectations around interaction, right? And has sharing space and that kind of thing. Then there's very informal, situations where a group of friends might live together in what they might call a collective or cooperative. And yeah, just like any other co-living situation, maybe they have house meetings, maybe they have, so I think every group is different. And there's some guidelines here in this packet. And I know that Ocean has done like conflict mediation stuff in the past to sort of give people tools because conflict's going to come up, like that's just normal, but like it's how do you deal with it? And a lot of times it is like having ground rules and sort of systems in place before you sort of, before a conflict happens, so that you're not just like, okay, out, but it's tough, that's why I said before, I don't want to pretend like co-living is just like, oh, everything's great and we all get along, right? It's work, just like any relationship is work.
Sure. Yeah, it's a great question. I'm mirroring a lot of what you said. The thing about it is it's co-living, it's people's lives, we're living. And so the way we create constellations of one another are different, right? Some of our owner groups are families, multi-generational families. Some of them are folks that before living together are strangers or only know themselves a little bit, or are bound by just organizing together before that to acquire a building. So these are all like varying degrees of trust, of like knowledge of one another, and also of like having already baked in pathways, like resilient outcomes, like a family that has multi-generations definitely, I would assume, or it'd be more likely that there are already established ways of resolving conflicts and creating harmony. So yeah, you practically have just like posting, et cetera. We might even share a lot of, it's like we have guidelines, handbooks, there's best practices, there's like ground rules. And there's also just this whole thing of just where it is definitely pertains to that constellation of people in that building. Whether that's to build more culture or cooperative culture, right? To keep things to get togetherness, or also just to make sure things are safe isn't even really the word I'm looking for. It's more like, I think cooperative living, co-living is like, I think another way to frame it is like an everyday kind of choice again and again to live into these values, right? Someone said values earlier. And that's where the ground rules come in, right? Once, should things escalate to a point, right? You have those kind of stop measures in place, that instead of going through a conflict in a carceral mindset, right? We have a resilience mindset, we have conflict resolution, we have restorative justice, we have mediation, all of these things. So yeah, just really trying to get at that beautiful and profound other way of living that, like, even despite all this work, we're still, I think, uncovering and recalling, right?
Absolutely. And lastly, were there any other from Zoom? Because I know once these folks part, it'll be hard for folks to be able to ask questions. Were there any others?
I have a quick question.
Right there.
I was wondering how tenants and common agreements relate to some of the housing configurations that have been discussed, co-housing and land trusts, etc. Is a tenants in common sort of like a subcategory of what we're talking about tonight, or something totally different?
I could speak to that a little bit. Yeah, great question. It definitely depends on what type of co-housing, co-living situation you're in. I'll speak about EV, correct? In that, I think you really brought up something really potent, right? Which is like the tenant landlord relationship, or like tenant and owner relationship, which we all have to interface with to varying degrees. I say have there. What's great about EV Correct is we really do our best to really just avoid that fraught relationship at all costs. So, we don't have tenants or renters, we have resident owners. You don't pay rent, right? You pay monthly dues or monthly payments. And that's because what's in a name, what's in a term, these are important things, right? If you're paying rent, that money will not come back to you. You're not going to get any equity from that. That's not going to someone in your community, maybe, but typically. Just the same as you're also not a tenant if you're living in an EV Correct building. And you also can't just live there, right? You're a resident owner. So that comes with a lot of really great responsibilities. It also comes with a lot of protections. So yeah, tenants in common, something we do also on the displacement avoidance program is do tenant organize, because it's really important to make sure that that power relationship is addressed whenever possible and mitigated if there is harm caused, or if there's the difficulties that arise from the power dynamic. So that is something that I'm happy to say, is that we don't really have to deal with that subset with our own properties, because we don't have that fraught relationship with tenant and landlord. But for buildings that do have tenants, and if they are having distress or harm, we'll work with them to bring them in common, to access that people power, right? We're all about people.
So tenants and commons is also just a term that most financial institutions need to understand, and that is who owns what. And so when you're living collectively and maybe buying and owning collectively, you want to be clear about who is owning what. So is there an overarching institution or organization that's going to be buying something? So have you started a nonprofit or an LLC or some kind of corporation that is going to be owning the building or the land, and you own shares of that? Or are you and separate individuals owning together a piece of property? And what happens if someone marries or dies or goes through any kind of change in life? What happens to your share? And so tenants in common is just a way to be clear about what happens and what your rights and responsibilities are as an owner.
And there's lots of different ways to own. Usually it's through tenants in common if you're just going to be individual, or you can start an organization or join an organization and have ownership that way.
Thank you, thank you. Any other questions, or we? Awesome, awesome. So once again, all of these resources will be shared with you. This packet, if you're online, we'll be sure to get it to you. I think, did you drop the link already, or? Awesome, awesome. So you all can see there's a list of many of the Facebook groups that were referenced today. There's all of the organizations that were referenced today. And then there are listings in the back of available co-living options too. So, and some of them have short-term, so they're transitioning, as well as long-term options, but definitely look into the resources. And if you have any follow-up questions too, the presentation has our emails and contacts and things as well. Is there anything you all want to share before we part?
Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, I just want to say thank you so much. You all shared a wealth of information. Those attending also shared so much good information. So thank you. And we look forward to seeing you at the next one. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
For everybody that's here, we have noticed it's our new web app that no one has been able to fill out our application yet. So if they wanted to fill that out for us, we're trying to make sure it actually does work when we're supporting residents in the direct areas. But also we're going to be able to take that information and get back to y'all all the stuff we're talking about. So if you haven't filled it out, we would really love you to fill it out, because I'm going to fill it out basically from the physical one. But 2 people I heard gave their emails. So if you have, and that's what we're still trying to figure out if they were. They got to report. So they have been working on it. So if you can try it.
Try like doing this week. And it's
I know, so
Or just put submit.
Could you all mute real quick, Chris? I was just gonna say, this is the part in our agenda where we're gonna take a break. There's food in the room. We're also gonna invite folks to mix and mingle and get to know each other, maybe ask each other some questions about potential co-living. So I don't know if anyone here might want to get put into a breakout room, or if y'all even want to talk about what it is that you're looking for and if there's any way that we could support. So earlier, Reverend Joe shared that she's looking for